Yeah, definitely. Gwen here, one of the fastest, one of the most consistent. He moved on in the top 8 match here. Now has to do it versus the 3 other best players in the world at the very moment. It is Pac, it is Papou, it is Gwen and CarlJr. as we go into the top 4 live on the first round of warm-up. And once again, we see the CarlJr special. He wants to drive alone. He wants to take this 1 minute to work on the map at his own pace, not being distracted by his opponents. Whereas the others are really seeing where the pace is, where the land lies here. Pac and Papou battling now to see what kind of pace they'll have to drive at to beat out each other in just a minute. And this is the turn combination. Beautiful adaptation from Pac there. He actually would have failed if he went full speed, but he tapped the brake, initiated the drift, and made his way through the turn effortlessly there. So yeah, we can see some recoveries like that, but we do see Papou with the best line and with the lead towards the identity.
Towards the identity, and there we may be seeing again the wider line being adopted by at least one of the players. If not, if it's not Pac, then Papou might be going for it, for getting a feel for it. Pac does get a clip of the identity here, and somewhat wide line for Papou, but not quite as sharp of a turn in towards the right-hander with the booster coming up next. So we're gonna have to see how this will play in the hands of either Papou and Pac, which might be the ones to really use that strategy to their fullest, especially Pac with the sharper turn in that we've seen a little bit earlier.
Yeah, so I guess we'll find out. 5 seconds left, ladies and gentlemen. Get some hype in the chat of either stream here if you're enjoying the show so far, and tell us who you're rooting for, who you hope is going to win. This is the top 4 of Trackmania Grand League. Starting out here with the classic helicopter camera here to get an overview of the field. See what happens here in the very first corners, as this is where you will not see the biggest differences, but you will see these micro-perfect movements to net themselves a few hundreds of a lead over their opponents. Just fine refinements as we're coming up to the very decisive turn in lap number 1.
Yeah, here we go. Now it's important to place your car exactly where it should be and keep the speed as much as you can to move through to that second jump, and everybody managing to clear it pretty much perfectly, although Carl is a bit further behind than he would like to be. Currently 3/10 down on the lead Pac, should I say, as Papou, Pac, and Gwen were having a bit of a tussle for P1, but Gwen trying to make a break for freedom as early as the bump road right here, and tries to go through the identity in the lead, but he touches a bit on the inside. I think he basically clicked the road, and we're heading into the identity. Pac can put him under pressure for the lead. Papou as well. That's another 3-way fight for the top position right now. Pac having a really wide line. Papou again touching the wall, and he respawns. That's going to be game over for the Gamers Origin driver. Meanwhile, Gwen and Pac over the finish line. Pac snipes him for 1/100th of a second with a 1:11.228 as the opener for the Brits.
Yeah, and we're not seeing the fastest pace as Gwen there clips another road, and now it's a 1v1, but it's more of a 1 versus himself here. Pac, half a second ahead of Carl, has this under control and could start off in a very Pac-ish way by winning the first round. Let's see if he can close it out. It is still half a lap to be driven. That will not be the case. CarlJr now, does he realize he has the lead? He does not need to risk. Everyone else has failed on the first lap of Semiramis, and if that is going to keep happening, then what a great map choice here by Carl, as he's being gifted around for free. If he can stay consistent now across the identity section, this is all in Carl's hands.
He's got quite the buffer as well to play with. He's got a second of a buffer to Gwen in P2 at the present moment, with the identity coming up right now for the final time on this opening round on Semiramis. Second jump nicely done. Gwen touching the wall again, clipping a little bit on the road again, and so Carl's first round on the board and final status will be handed to him on a silver plate as he crosses the start-finish line and wins the race with a 2:19.828. Gwen and Papou having retired. Pac moves up to P2, but no points for him, as Carl will be the first to put his spot on the line for the grand final.
Yeah, Carl now starting off in great fashion, showing that he wants to defend his title. He won it last year or just half a year ago in Lyon. And now in the online finals, he is 1 win away from getting to the grand final 1v1 match later tonight. And the other 3 players now have to deny him if they want the spot more themselves. Currently though, CarlJr off to the slowest start of the bunch. The other 3 are just 1/10 of a second ahead. But we know it's going to come down to this turn right here. The tight part between the roads. All the players are going to jump, align their car to the left, and try to keep the speed through this corner. All of them will make it, and we have a 4-way battle on our hands now in the first lap of Semiramis.
Currently, it's mainly splitting into two groups again, with Gwen and Pac having a bit of a tussle for them between them in the lead, and then a bit of a gap to Papou in P3, although Papou's trying to bridge that gap as quickly as it emerges, as we're heading into the identity for the first time on this second round right here, with Gwen, Pac, and Papou. Papou going a bit on the inside line right here for this first jump. Second jump, Pac managing to clear it, everybody clearing it nicely here. Nobody making big mistakes. Carl going for a bit of an inside line at the landing, at the final jump, and then the grass, and Gwen currently leading the race convincingly with a gap of to around 0.2 of a second, 1:10.995, the opening lap for Gwen as he heads into the final lap in the lead, but less speed out of the first checkpoint, and so Pac will move through to the lead. Nothing is done. Oh, and Pac with a slow landing!
As Pac hits the wall, drops down, and it is Gwen and Papou now overtaking those first two spots. Gwen, their amazing opening lap, but he failed in that first corner of the second one. Again on the second round here. Now the tight corner will be decisive. Who is going to get the most speed across the grass? It is going to be Gwen here, who's going to be catching up slowly to Papou here. It was 1900 of a second. Now it's going to be 12. Now it's going to be 5 in his favor. Actually make that 9 as Gwen now extending his lead. He won a round here earlier, and he is leading over Papou to try to win it again. But let's not forget here, Papou has a very unique line on the identity. He goes more right than anyone else, almost across the corner, straight to the booster. Same for the second one.
No!
And then he tries. It's all over. Gwen will be taking this one. Papou with a DNF, and Gwen can safely cruise to the finish for a finalist mode himself. It's looking like an El Clasico is coming up.
Never say never. Everything can still happen, but Papou, that unfortunate low line through the second jump right here, it really cost him dearly as we're heading into the final round here on Semiramis on this Final Four match right now, with both Carl and Gwen in finalist mode. Now, you say that there might be an El Clasico coming up. Don't scream too soon, because if Pac can actually get it together now, he might still be able to throw a bit of a monkey wrench into the plans of both players and try to put himself into contention for a spot in the final 1v1. So pay attention to the M&M Gaming player right now.
And we are watching the perspective of Pac, because now it really is the moment to step up to the occasion. He is 0.3 behind. It's not impossible still to catch us back up, but that is an awkward line onto the platform. He will have lower speed than the other players, and this is where he's going to have to make a push, or hope that the other players push a little bit too much. They're going very close to the walls up front. CarlJr and Gwen are in the lead though, and if one of them gets this win, they will be in that grand final 1v1. So Papou here now trying to deny, trying to extend this match to get to a map that is more favorable for him. Onto the identity. He failed here last time. This time he has it under control. Jumps left here, gets a bit of that uphill, and now pushes for speed onto the grass. It is a unique approach, but it is working out for Papou as he finds himself on the tail of Gwen's car coming into the second lap, 900s behind with a 1:11.17 opener.
Pac having had a pretty good identity as well, managing to move through to third place just past CarlJr, and now those two are going to try to bridge the gap to the top two fight up front between Gwen and Papou. Within 300ths of a second they find themselves into, but then Pac with a much better corner than Papou will move through into second place at the expense of the Frenchman, and Papou drops down to third place as he gets overtaken by CarlJr just before the platform part. Now heading into the all-important part with the transfer jumps. Gwen touches, and so Pac will inherit the lead, but look at this, it's a freeway fight for the lead right now between Pac, Papou, and CarlJr at the present moment. CarlJr trying to move through to the lead, but it's not going to be everything close to done for either of these guys as we're heading into the identity and coming up right now to 5 to 10 seconds. Papou trying to take the lead from Pac. Pac trying to catch back up to Papou. Papou currently holding the lead as we're heading into the first jump right now. Here we go. Papou with the inner line, Carl and Pac with an outer line. Papou remaining in the lead right now. Will he falter at this at the identity? Not quite right now. It seems as though he's got a bit too much time. He touches on the outside, and so he's out. It's compatible between Pac and CarlJr. Pac should be able to hold off CarlJr's charge, and he will go through into finalist status.
Oh, wow. Okay. I take back what I said. We have a fight on our hands here. Pac moving up onto finalist, and anything can still happen there. You got a feel for Papou though, with 2 fails at the final identity part of Semiramis. Really not getting it to work there, but maybe now as we go on to the second map. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready as we are going to be playing
Half pipe.
Wait for it to load. Half pipe indeed, and we know what Papou is capable on half pipe.
Yes, indeed, we know what Papou is capable of with such supreme identities coming back from third to first in one fell swoop just after the first jump into the identity. But this identity can be a real troublemaker. Remember that there is something quite important, which is to keep your car flush. With the next quarter pipe as you exit the quarter pipe from which you're jumping from, because if you get your car ever so slightly crooked, you can run the risk of actually touching the top of the half pipe and completely basically ruining everything. Either you go back on your wheels but lose a ton of momentum, or you basically roll over and you're forced to respawn. So yeah, make sure to watch out in the identity.
And at the pace they're driving, it is over before they even know what's going on. It's all muscle memory. It's all just several weeks of practice. This map has been out since September, and the players have perfected all the lines. It's all ingrained into their hands right now. They just need to execute and not overthink what they do in this pressure situation. But Papou has figured out that line so beautifully on that identity that we are going to see at the end of the map here on half pipe. He is the favorite, but let's not forget Gwen, let's not forget Pac, and certainly not CarlJr. And before you know it, in one round here, if Papou does not win, we are going to have our first grand finalist.
We could have our first grand finalist indeed, but Papou can really pull something really magical in the identity. Although in the warm-up he doesn't seem to have that quite dialed in. But we all know this very famous saying in Trackmania that you're supposed to fail the warm-up in order to have good fortune in the live round. So maybe he was doing that on purpose, because it's been pretty in the history of Trackmania, it's been recorded that sometimes when you do well your warm-up, only bad things ensue in the live round. So we're gonna have to see how this goes for all these players as we're underway with map 2, which is half pipe by Kisla. Papou, the only one not infected. And contrary to the other instinct, which is basically to run away from those infected, he's gonna try to get the finalist spot and get that red name tag.
Yeah, he's currently in an opposite scenario. He's chasing the infector right now, and has to make his way up 0.4 already. That is something he can do. We've seen him do it, but he is already at the breaking point of what's possible to catch back up. Very close to the wall there for Papou. Now getting a lot of speed here. This could be a make or break jump. He does get airtime and will actually lose a lot of time to Gwen here. It's going to be more than half a second on the next checkpoint, 0.7. As we go into the mini identity jump here, dirt jump, 223 speed needed to clear it with ease, and that will be something all the players manage. On to the ending of the dirt now. Very important to try to avoid getting a slide here, a no drift. Oh, Papou missing it there.
Oh, CarlJr with the pin goal!
Junior with the respawn. Who is going to be our first grand finalist? It's either going to be Pac or Gwen, unless Papou does a miracle identity here. Gwen going high, Papou going low. He might overtake Pac, but is it too far up to catch up to Gwen? Gwen with one jump remaining, and he could secure the grand final spot, and it will be Gwen, our first grand finalist. Or I'm actually dead wrong, as I got debated this time.
You got the
we're even. Lap to go. The intensity is getting to me. Take it away, Geek, on the final lap of halfpipe.
I think I'm working off on you, man. Jesus. Anyways, Gwen and Pac, the two finalists battling together, heading into the final lap right now with this platform jumping to the dirt. Pac taking the lead from the youngster right now for around 700ths of a second, but a slow dirt line from Pac. He barely manages to clear the platform, jump to the second one as well, but Papou moves through into second position, heading into the second platform part right now with Gwen clear in the lead by 0.3 of a second right now, heading into the dirt part for this particular moment. Oh, Papou going wide, almost getting a little bit of protected hang time into the banking right now, heading into the double dip jump right now. You need at least 222 speed to clear it, although it's a little bit risky. 224 for Papou, who moves through nicely towards the other side of the dirt jump, and he's gonna try to pile the pressure on Gwen and try to catch back up to actually get himself into the lead. Can he actually pull off the magical identities that we see? No, he full stop picks the caster's curse, strikes yet again, and Gwen has got a buffer of 0.8 of a second to Pac in second place as we're going through the identity. Pac is going super low though. Look at the speed that he managed to get into the first jump. Gwen's second jump not so far. Will he be able to snipe him? Pac gets toward the line. No, he touches. Gwen moves through to the grand final.
Oh my god, Pac. Oh, so close. One clip away. What a heroic effort. He was almost a second behind. And Gwen, who thought he could save it, almost had it robbed away from him. Valiant effort there, but Gwen He remains ahead. He goes on to the grand finals, and there's only one spot left now. It is really do or die for all these players to get to that grand final 1v1 match against the new prodigy, the new master, the new king of Trackmania, Gwen. Moving on to the grand finals. Let's see this round now. CarlJr, Papou, and Pac in a 1v1v1 showdown.
And now it's all down to Papou to keep the dream alive and take this to the final round on halfpipe to decide who will move through to the grand final and who will get sent to Ben early in this final phase of the Grand League. Papou currently holding the lead from Pac by around 1/100th of a second. They're neck and neck right now in the top 2 and the top 3 once again is back together, although Carl has a bit of a sketchy landing at the platform part and entering the dirt, so we're heading into the double dip jump again with Pac and Papou at the present moment leading. Pac getting 223 speed, he's able to clear it, Papou as well. And so, no, Papou less speed, lost speed compared to Carl, and so Carl moves through into second place, and now it's definitely not the ideal situation for the Frenchman, isn't it?
It is not ideal, and he also ate a gear down on that dirt, losing further time, so this has to be a Papou identity, a jump sequence only he can manage, full risk across, and this time we are still on the first lap. I will remember that here, as we see that Papou actually making up ground, catching up to Carl, catching up to Pac, more speed across to the next lap, and Papou will inherit that first place here if he gets the grass part. Well, no, does get a bit of airtime, but he is within striking distance again. Managed to catch up about 0.7 of a second, so really has the chance now to get to that grand final match. If he beats out Pac, this is going to be so close here. Pac has the lead, gets that line onto the dirt really well, maintains the gear as he should, dropping down to the platform, dropping down to the next platform, and now we gotta imagine it's either gonna come down to this next dirt part or the identity.
Yeah, and now Pac is trying to make a run for freedom right now in the lead. He does not want Papou to come back at him. He wants to prevent that identity comeback from Papou, but it's going to be really important for Pac to actually safeguard that first place, safeguard that final point on the board. 223 at the jump for Pac. Papou also managing to clear pretty much safely here. CarlJr down in third position. Also Papou trying to fend off the attacks of CarlJr right now, heading into the identity, coming up in the best part of 10 seconds. Pac with throw a 10 of a gap to Papou in second place. Now we're getting closer and closer to get your second finalist on the board, or can Papou actually make the dream and keep the dream alive right now? Heading into that entity, focusing on the Gamer's Origin driver. He goes super low. Pac has got less speed compared to Papou in the second jump as well. Will he be able to snipe him at the line again? Let's actually see that. Will he be able to clinch it? Yes, and he moves through to the triple finalist. And that's the final round coming up, ladies and gentlemen, for this final 4 phase.
And there will not be a break. We're getting right back in the action. Papou with the heroic comeback to put us in a 3-way finalist. Sudden death. Only one player will make it on through in this showdown. What on earth are these scenes we're seeing here, Geek? As we're going now into the final round of the top 4. Who is going to move on here? Anything can happen. This is the round it comes down to.
This is all it's come down to. This is what these players have been fighting for since the start of this evening at 8 o'clock. The final spot in the Grand League Grand Final. CarlJr currently leading the pack ahead of Papou and Pac right now in third place with the platform jump coming up. Sorry, my voice is suddenly going extinct as soon as we are talking about this right now. Carl losing a bit of speed before the second platform jump, and now they're back neck and neck.
Yeah, they are dead even in this final and decisive round into the dirt. Papou here is one of the masters of dirt in Trackmania, has won several dirt tournaments in the past, and suddenly recently moved on to these all-style tournaments, but his dirt prowess is showing, although players clipping the block there. Pac getting the worst of it, losing a second to the other two, and he's gonna have to get a good identity like he did in that one match versus Gwen, where he almost sniped the win. Now is the time to do it one more time to catch back up. It's half a second to the other two. It is not impossible, but this jump has got to be good to set him up for the future ones, and he will get that early good jump that sets him up for the next sequence. That one was a bit rough, and Papou will hold the lead, though CarlJr more speed. Into the second lap we go, and CarlJr is extending this up to about a 0.2 of a lead over Papou. Great speed across the grass. CarlJr now on the victory march, half a second ahead of the others. That sequence was so well done from the Canadian, and this could be the El Clasico coming up. Half a second has turned into 0.7 now, and will he be able to hold this all the
Pac
way?
is dead. Pac is dead.
And now we will see what comes down to Papou versus Carl. This is it.
This is it. This is the time to shine, potentially for Papou to make sure that it will be the first time since 2006 that a Frenchman has won the Premier National Section tournament in this, with the Grand League final coming up right now. CarlJr currently leading the field by, currently leading Papou by 0.6 of a second right now, heading into the double dip jump. Let's actually see the speed from Papou. 225. He will clear the first dip nicely. Second dip will be cleared as well. Did he drop any speed on the landing? Nope, not quite. And he will be heading into 0.6 for a second right now, heading into the identity coming up in 10 seconds. Is going to be the time for Papou to pull one of these identities that like only he knows how to pull off. It's going to be up to him to potentially put one over the world champion. Let's see how this goes. Will CarlJr go high? Will Pac go low? They're both going low. Oh no! Papou going for the full risk is not paying off. CarlJr will be able to get through and move through to the grand final. It's the Classico of 2020 happening. Gwen versus CarlJr right now.
My god. But how close was it though? Papou and Pac both showing what they're capable of, being so close to netting themselves that final spot. But at the end of the day, I think we have the matchup everyone expected and everyone wanted to see. This is going to be fireworks. This is going to be one hell of a show here between CarlJr and Gwen, the reigning Trackmania Grand League champion, versus the rising star. Let's see what happens in just a few minutes.
Well, I'm sorry to call it a bit early, but I'm gonna take a break for my. I'm sorry.
Oh, I can hear your voice here. WaterGeek, I will run us through because, ladies and gentlemen, we are actually going on to circles here for the third place battle. There is prize money on the line here for who gets fourth and who gets third. So Pac and Papou are going to battle it out here on one lap of circles. Affi's map here being played one last time in the top 4 match. Pac versus Papou. And wow, got a feel for both of these players. Pac being just one jump away from sniping Gwen on half pipe, and Papou there one jump away from sniping Carl. Anything can happen in this format. But give it up for these two players who have shown us some excellent Trackmania gameplay all evening. And now they're going to duke it out in one match here to see who gets third and who gets fourth. If you're new to circles, this is the identity section. You jump into that first circle, drop down to the quarter pipe, go up the second circle before dropping down into the third circle. It's a lot about preserving your speed here, and then you will complete the lap. We do this twice in a row, and in about 13 seconds, we'll see who wins.
Yes, the final round of the Final Four match. I was a bit excited when I called the final round of the match when actually CarlJr won. It was one more round, in fact, deciding the top 3 as well, because there is still a bit of cash prize for these two guys to actually collect, with 1,000 euros for the man who manages to get on the podium, and then 500 euros for the remaining player in 4th place. As we're heading right now to the start of lap number 1 of this final round, Papou taking the early lead, but Pac remaining right within his heels.
Yeah, it's essentially here a 1v1 match for 500 euros. Whoever is driving their car the fastest through circles will win that prize. Papou right now, great start here, going onto the ice, have to build up speed here. To the next section, Pac getting just a little bit more. But this is a full speed section. You drive the car at full speed, you don't drift, you don't slow down. And that little extra speed advantage you can see here has accrued up to Pac being able to catch up and overtake Papou just from that tiny little detail on the ice. So this is what circles is all about. It's about speed management and precision.
It's about speed management and precision indeed, as we're heading into the identity, which exemplifies that. Release and turn at the same exact time, the precise moment to go get a low line as possible for the first rep from that second transfer right here. Through from the second to the third circle right here. Who's got enough speed? And Papou clips a little bit. That's going to play against him, as Pac is able to make a run for freedom, and he touches again on the inside at the freewheel part, and that's pretty much going to be settling the fate of Papou, unless Pac makes a mistake right now in the final lap. But he might know this. He might get a bit of a check on his heads-up display, or maybe a call right now if we did have a spotter. I don't know if we have spotters available for the Grand League right now, but yeah, he might know right now that the gap is up to 4.5 seconds. He can afford to actually go a bit slower now.
Yeah, this is all in Pac's hands here, and circles It is not known to be one of the most difficult maps to drive. It's very difficult to drive at a high pace, but at a savable pace when you have 4 seconds to spare. It is really going to be a cruise here to the finish for Pac. It should be. The identity is going to be the only thing that could be in his way here. The rest is easy cruising for someone at Pac's level here. So we're going to see him go through the identity. This is where anything can happen, if anything is going to happen, but knowing Pac and his experience, this should be him securing 3rd place in Trackmania Grand League and going on to, well, let's see here. Yeah, going on to get that 1,000 euros prize money.
There he
Papou
goes.
Here, valiant effort as well. Didn't get it to work here, but 4th place and a great match and a great showing. We'll get 500 euros.
And I gotta say, it's still, even though it might not be the result that Pac wants it to be, he was coming into this mindset of actually potentially winning the playoffs. It's still definitely a super season for Pac after a really difficult winter season, which was marred by quite little time to practice with the studies that he had, not even being able to make it through the playoffs. He's come back in this season to prove that he can actually prove his worth and actually go through in 3rd position in the end of the Grand League. So yeah, kudos to Pac for having made a really good season overall, despite maybe the end result not what he wants to be.